Okay, yesterday we met the character Daniel from Daniel's story, and we began to see how Hitler began his systematic terror on the Jewish population in Germany. And I know some of you have some summaries about what we read, so Matthew, would you like to share your summary?
Okay, I wrote that Daniel was on the train looking at pictures of his 6th birthday, and then he flashed back to when a stormtrooper came up to his father's store and told him they were boycotting all Jewish stores.
Exactly, and this is the beginning of what Hitler did to kind of take away the citizenship rights of the Jews in Germany. Now, what was the gift that he got that he was so happy about?
He got a toy train.
He got a toy train. And we're going to keep that in mind because now he's on a train going somewhere where he doesn't know he's going to end up. And his birthday present was a train, and there's a very disturbing irony in that we're going to discuss later, okay, as we progress in the story. All right, so chapter 2. I look at the picture on the next page, the class photo taken just before I left public school. It is marked Class of 1936-37. What strikes me is all the faces that are not in the picture. My Jewish friends who had over the years either left voluntarily to go to Jewish schools or had been forced to leave. I had wanted to stay at that school because my best friend Hans was there, and he wasn't Jewish. But slowly, Hans began to find excuses for not coming over to my house, and he started to pick fights with me in the schoolyard. I always got in trouble for those fights, and of course, because I was not a Jew. Because I was a Jew. I was a natural troublemaker, according to Mr. Schneider. Just thinking about Mr. Schneider gets me mad all over again. One day, soon after my 10th birthday, he called me to the front of the class. He had a measuring tape which he flung in the air. "Jews!" he cried in his shrill voice. "They are not our equals, and they never were. They bribed their ways into positions of power. They tried to take over our country. We must thank God that he sent Adolf Hitler to us, for only he had the courage to deal with this Jewish problem. Now the Jews are no longer citizens. They have no rights. And soon they will no longer pollute our schools." I was so torn between kicking him and throwing a desk at him. So for the moment, I did nothing. He'd always been mean to me. Whenever I got an answer wrong, he'd say, "Ha! What can you expect from a Jew?" But he'd never gone on like this before. "The authorities have instructed us to illustrate the inferiority of this race to you students in this way," Mr. Schneider continued. "True Aryans have specific head measurements." And before I knew it, he had the tape around my head. "Aha!" he said triumphantly to the class. "You see? Inferior species. His head too small, no room for brains. A close relative to the vermin in our gutters." That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. "Good!" I exclaimed, "because I'd hate to be like you." And then I kicked him. "Leave this room at once!" Mr. Schneider screamed, hitting me around the head and the shoulders. Go straight to the principal's office." And then Daniel responds, "I'll leave this room and I'll never come back," I screamed. As I tried to duck the blows, I went straight to Father's store and I pleaded with him to take me out of that school. The next day, both Erica and I started at the Jewish school about 10 blocks from home. Who would like to share their thoughts of how they would feel? Brianna, come up to the front or stand up at your seat so we can see.
I would put him in his place and tell him, how would you feel if you were in my spot right now? And I would just leave the classroom.
Okay, so you would just put it back on him to
Yeah.
kind of contemplate his thoughts. Okay. Gia, nice and loud. Okay.
If I was Daniel, I would talk back to the teacher and run home as fast as I can, because I would just feel nerve-wracking and wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah, it would be pretty. And also think about all of your peers around you.
Yeah.
and how their opinions of you would change like that. Hunter?
If I knew something embarrassing about him, like an embarrassing middle name, I would say it in front of the whole class and run home.
You would shame him.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm glad you don't know my middle name. Okay, Lila.
So I have two reasons. I would be really upset and deal with him with one last day of school and then go to my parents and go to the juice school. But I would also stick up to myself and by talking and not violence.
I'm sorry, you would stick up for yourself and do what?
And talking, not violence.
And you would use words and your brains and not violence. Okay. All right, well, we're going to get back to this in a little bit, but right now we have to go on with the chapter.